Hey Monica, I wanted to just do a quick little video and hopefully that will help you with the problem. So let me get the whiteboard up, hold on. Okay, so I told you like this chapter was a little bit more confusing than some of the others. And what I would suggest for all of these problems is to draw your bell-shaped curve every single time. So if you're looking at question 1, on page 357, which is what you said you were looking at, we're going to draw our bell-shaped curve, okay? And your mean is always what's in the middle. Remember, this percent of the data is 50%, and this percent of the data is 50%. So it says assume that the distribution has a mean of 10 and a standard deviation of 2. So that means your mean here is going to be 10, okay? So we have a mean of 10 and a standard deviation of 2, okay? And with the 68, 95, 99.7 rule, you're going to find the other distributions. So if we go 1 standard deviation to the right, that means that I'm going to add 10 plus 2, and that's going to be 12. And that's going to be 1 standard deviation to the right. So 12 will be this way. And then you go 2 to the left. So 10 minus 2 will be 8. And that's 1 standard deviation to the left. Okay, so that's 8. So this is 68% of your data falls within that percentage, okay? So 68% fall between 8 and 12. Or if we go another standard deviation, that means we're going to add 2 more. So 12 plus 2 is going to be 14. So that's 2 standard deviations, okay? So that's 14. And then 2 this way would be 6. All right, so 8 minus 2. Is 6. It's 2 standard deviations. All right, so that means 95% of your data are going to fall between 6 and 14. And then if we go 2 again, 2 this way would be 4, and 2 this way would be 16. That's going to be 3 standard deviations, which was your 99.7%, okay? So that means that 99.7% of the data is going to fall between 4 and 16. All right, number 1 asks you, what is the percentage that would fall between 10 and 12? All right, so what we're looking at is we're looking at this part of the data right here, okay? So we're looking from here to here. Well, 68% fall between 8 and 12. So we're looking at only half of that. So what you would do is you would take 68% and you would divide it by 2, which would give you 34%. So 34% fall between 10 and 12, if that makes sense, okay? Number 2 says between 12 and 14. So here is 12 and 14. I'm going to do a different color. Let's do red, okay? Between 12 and 14, we want this part, all right? Well, from 10 to 14, all right, so here is 6 to 8, right? 6 to 14, I'm sorry. 6 to 14 is 68%, okay? And if you think of from here to here, this will be 34%. No, I'm sorry. Goodness, I'm confusing myself. 6 to 14 is 95% of your data. All right, I'm going to draw it from here to here again. This is 10. This is 14. This is 12, okay? And then over here is your 6. All right, from here to here is 95%, okay? So that means if I'm just looking at this part of it, 95 divided by 2, right? It's going to be your 47.5%, okay? And if we want to end up just getting from 12 to 14, which is just this part of it, okay, we're going to need to be a little bit careful because we need to figure out just this part. We have this whole part. Well, if we figure out what is from 10 to 12, okay, which we know is half of 68, then we can subtract these 2 amounts to figure out what's left over, okay? So half of 68 we know is 34, okay? So this is 34%. So if you think about it, okay, from here to here is 34. and we know from here to here, this whole thing is 47.5. Can we figure out what just this part is? Well, you would take 47.5 and subtract 34 from it. All right, and that's going to give us, hold on, I don't have my calculator. 47.5 minus 34, 13.5%. Okay, so that one was a little bit trickier. But again, you're going to need to draw your normal curve every single time for these, okay? All right, let's do another one. All right, let's do the next one, above 14. All right, so we want above 14. So here's 10, here's 12, here's 14, here's 16, and we want just this part. Okay, so that means that we're looking at this one, okay, and this again is going to be your 2 standard deviations, but we want just above that. And what we can do is we can find the middle of this, and we know that 95% of our data falls from here to here, 95%, okay? So then that means what we have left over is this part and this part, but we only want this part. So that means what we have left over is 5%, right? And if we only want the top of it, then that means it's half of this. So if we divide this by 2, that would leave us with 2.5%. So number 3 is 2.5%. Okay. All right, I'm gonna do one more. Let's do number 4 up here at the top. We want below 8. So we want below 8. Okay, so I'm gonna draw my normal curve. Here's 10, here's 12, here's 14, here's 8, here's 6, okay? We want just this part right here. Well, if we look at from 8 to 12, that's 1 standard deviation, which is 68%. And that 68% covers from here to here, okay? So this is 68%. So you need to figure out, okay, well, what's left over? What's left over is going to be both of those parts, okay? So if we take 100%, we just subtract 68 from it, we're left with 32%. So that means both of these are going to be 32%, okay? And if we only want the bottom half, right? So I did 100 minus 68 gives you 32%. And that again covers both side pieces, but we only want the bottom. So then what you're going to have to do is divide that by 2. And that's going to give us 16%. So below 8 is going to cover 16%. Okay, I know this is a little bit weird, but you just got to keep practicing. And remember, each half is equal to each other, and so that gives you what's usually you either have to divide by 2 or find out what's left over. And yes, your test is also going to be due on Wednesday. So your project and your test are going to be due on Wednesday. All right.